never thought money could destroy the very people I loved most. But it all started the night of my uncle's funeral, when the lawyer opened the will. Everyone leaned in, waiting to hear how the fortune would be divided. My cousin Mark smirked, as if he already knew he was about to become the richest man in the room. But then the lawyer read the words that silenced us. The estate shall be divided equally among all nieces and nephews. Mark's smile vanished instantly, replaced by something darker. That was the first red flag, the moment I realized greed would poison our family. Before I continue, let me say this. Subscribe so you won't miss the shocking truth of how far Mark went to claim what wasn't his. At first, no one thought much of it. Equal shares felt fair. My uncle had worked his whole life building his company, and we all respected his legacy. But Mark didn't. He stormed out that night, muttering under his breath about earning it and deserving more. A few days later, we discovered he'd already started moving into my uncle's house, changing locks without telling anyone. The audacity stunned us. When my mother confronted him, he looked her in the eye and said, "I was the one closest to him. I deserve it all." It wasn't grief talking. It was hunger, the kind of hunger that devours reason and burns bridges forever. Soon, letters began arriving from Mark's lawyer. He was contesting the will, claiming my uncle had promised him the company. No proof, no witnesses, just Mark's word. Still, he was relentless. Court dates piled up, and what should have been a time of mourning turned into a battlefield. I'll never forget sitting across from him at the hearing. The same cousin I'd grown up with, now glaring like a stranger. The judge warned him about fabricating stories, but Mark didn't flinch. He acted as if lying was easier than breathing. Each word he spoke pulled our family further apart, and I started to wonder, how much destruction was he really capable of? We tried to reason with him outside of court. My aunt begged him, tears in her eyes, to think of family. He laughed in her face. "Family?" he said. "Family doesn't pay bills. Money does." Those words cut deeper than any lawsuit. That night, rumors spread that Mark had been stealing company assets even before my uncle died, siphoning funds through fake accounts. None of us wanted to believe it, but evidence began surfacing. Bank transfers, forged documents, hidden contracts. It was clear Mark had been planning this for years. My stomach turned at the thought. Had he been waiting for my uncle's death all along? The more we uncovered, the worse it got. Employees whispered that Mark had threatened them into silence, dangling their jobs over their heads. One man finally came forward with an email proving Mark had tried to sell part of the company secretly. It should have been the end of him, but Mark only grew bolder. He hired expensive lawyers, the kind who twist truth into knots. I sat in court listening to them smear my mother, accusing her of manipulating my uncle in his final days. It felt unreal, watching a cousin I once trusted destroy reputations just to grab more money. Tell me, if this happened in your family, would you fight back or walk away? The lawsuits drained us financially and emotionally. Birthdays, holidays, everything became awkward, split into sides. Mark showed up to Christmas with security guards, as if we were threats to him. He even told my younger brother, "Enjoy your gifts now, because soon you'll have nothing." That night, I realized it wasn't just about greed. It was about domination. Mark wanted control, power, to see us beg. But the more pressure he applied, the more determined I became. I promised myself I wouldn't let him win, even if it meant exposing every secret he tried to bury. Then came the breaking point. A mysterious fire broke out at my uncle's old office, the same office holding original company records. Investigators suspected arson. My heart pounded when I heard the news. Who would benefit most from those documents disappearing? Only Mark. But he played innocent, shrugging on the witness stand, claiming grief had clouded everyone else's judgment. Watching him fake tears made me sick, yet deep down, I knew the truth. Mark would burn the whole world down if it meant standing on the ashes with money in his hands. By now, the family was fractured beyond repair. Cousins who once played together refused to speak. Aunts stopped attending gatherings. Even weddings turned into battlegrounds, with whispered insults across dinner tables. And at the center of it all was Mark, smiling smugly, as if our pain was proof of his power. I started journaling everything, every threat, every lie, every suspicious move. I knew one day it would matter. But I also asked myself, could one man's greed truly erase generations of family bonds? Or was there still a way to save us from total collapse? The answer came when an old employee, long retired, stepped forward. He had kept copies of contracts Mark tried to destroy, proof that Mark had stolen millions. Holding those papers felt like holding justice itself. My lawyer warned me it wouldn't be easy. Mark's legal team was ruthless, ready to twist anything. But at last, we had leverage. I remember sitting in court, clutching the folder, feeling both fear and relief. This was our chance to finally expose him. But I wondered, would the truth be enough to end his reign of manipulation? The trial reached its climax. My lawyer presented the evidence, and the room went silent. Mark's face turned pale, then red with rage. He shouted, slammed the table, accused us all of conspiring against him. The judge demanded order, but the mask had slipped. Everyone saw his true nature. For the first time, I felt the tide turn. Justice wasn't guaranteed yet, but it was close. And sitting there, I couldn't help but wonder, what would you have done in my place? Would you expose a relative even if it meant destroying what little family was left? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. After that day, Mark's empire began to crumble. Banks froze his accounts, investigations widened, and former allies turned their backs. He grew desperate, calling relatives late at night, begging for support. No one answered. The same cousin who once believed he deserved everything now had nothing. But the scars he left behind didn't vanish. My mother cried often, mourning not just her brother, but the family we once were. And I found myself questioning whether justice was ever truly worth the price of losing everyone you love. Months passed. The court finally ruled. Mark was guilty of fraud, theft, and perjury. He was sentenced to prison, and the estate was restored to its rightful heirs. I should have felt triumphant, but all I felt was emptiness. Because the truth is, money can be returned, but trust cannot. Family bonds, once shattered, rarely heal. The chairs at family dinners still feel too empty. Yet a small part of me believes this outcome was necessary, that without it, Mark would have destroyed us all eventually. In the end, the inheritance was divided, just as my uncle had wished. But the celebration was muted. No one toasted, no one cheered. We had won, yes, but at a cost far greater than dollars. Still, there was a lesson in it, that greed doesn't just take money. It takes laughter, memories, and the simple joy of belonging. I share this story not just to expose what happened, but to warn anyone who thinks wealth can replace love. It never does. It only corrupts those too weak to resist it. Sometimes I still see Mark's face in my dreams. The smirk, the anger, the hunger. I wonder if prison has changed him, or if he still plots revenge in his cell. Maybe he regrets nothing. Maybe he regrets everything. But I've learned to let go of those questions. Because in the end, what matters is that the cycle was broken. My uncle's legacy, though scarred, still stands. And I know he would have wanted us to learn this hard, painful truth about the price of greed. That's my story, how one man's greed tore apart an entire family. If you stayed with me until the end, thank you. It means more than you know. Please, subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this, because sadly, tales of money and betrayal are everywhere. And I'll leave you with this. Do you think greed is something people are born with, or is it created by circumstance? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, remember, money can build, but it can also destroy.